The year was 2478. Under the frozen red deserts of Mars, a human research base called Ars-9 stood alone against the endless night. The station's walls groaned under the weight of dust storms that had raged for days. Inside, a small team of scientists worked in silence, surrounded by blinking lights and the soft hum of machines. For months, they had been digging into an ancient crater, believing it was once the bed of an alien ocean. What they found instead was nothing like a sea. It was a tomb. Dr. Ilara Quinn, lead archaeologist and mission commander, stared through the glass at what the excavation bots had unearthed. A black metallic cube, perfectly smooth, perfectly still, buried 20 meters deep. It wasn't natural. The edges were too sharp. The surface reflected no light at all, like it swallowed it whole. "Scan complete," said Dr. Malik Torrance, the team's engineer. "No seams, no markings, no energy readings. It's just there." Ilara frowned. Nothing is just there on Mars. She stepped closer as robotic arms lifted the object into the base's main lab. The cube was the size of a small house, heavy enough to bend the metal floor. As it touched down, a low hum filled the air, faint, almost like a whisper under the skin. Malik checked his instruments again. "It's vibrating, barely, like it's alive." "Alive," Ilara repeated softly. The word hung in the air, absurd but fitting. Hours passed. The team surrounded the cube with sensors and scanners. The data showed impossible readings, tiny fluctuations that resembled brain waves. No known machine or material behaved like this. Finally, Ilara wiped dust from one side and gasped. Faint carvings emerged, lines and circles, repeating symbols that seemed to shift under the light. "Language," whispered Dr. Riacol, the linguist. "It's writing." Ilara's heart pounded. Humanity had searched the stars for centuries. They had built colonies, found ruins, discovered microbes, but never a message. Never words. "This could be an archive," Rhea said. "A record, a library, maybe their history." Ilara smiled faintly, though the air felt colder now. "Then let's read it." They connected the cube to the station's translation AI, nicknamed Athena. Cables ran like veins from the cube to the computer core. The room lights dimmed as the AI began its work. Lines of alien symbols appeared on the central display, spinning, rearranging, breaking apart into streams of code. Athena's synthetic voice echoed through the lab, analyzing unknown linguistic structure, probability of sentient origin, 99.87%. The scientists watched, breathless. Malik whispered, "We're about to hear the voice of another species." The symbols grew faster, flashing like lightning across every screen. Athena's voice started to distort. Syntax loop, pattern recursion, translation incomplete. Suddenly, all the screens went white. The sound stopped. The humming cube went still. Even the air seemed frozen. Ilara leaned closer, waiting for something, anything. Then a single word formed on the monitor, glowing in blood-red letters. "Run." No one spoke. The word pulsed once, twice, as if alive. Malik broke the silence. "Is that the translation?" Rhea's lips trembled. "It can't be. That's English." Before anyone could react, the lights flickered. The base shuddered. Somewhere deep below, metal groaned as if the planet itself had woken up. "Power surge!" Malik shouted, grabbing the console. "Something's draining our systems. All power to emergency backup." Ilara ordered, but the cube was already glowing, soft blue veins spreading across its black surface like lightning trapped in glass. The hum returned, deeper now, resonating in their bones. The floor vibrated. Loose tools rolled across the lab table. Then, darkness. Every light in Ars-9 went out. The silence that followed was worse than any alarm. The only sound was the faint heartbeat of the cube, pulsing once every few seconds. Ilara turned on her helmet lamp. The beam of light cut through the blackness, shaking slightly in her hand. "Malik, Rhea." "I'm here," Malik said. His voice echoed from somewhere near the control panels. "Backup power's offline. Even manual override's dead." "What about Athena?" Elora asked. The AI didn't answer. Instead, from the cube came a low rumble, like a breath being drawn after centuries of sleep. The cube's surface began to shift. The carvings rearranged themselves, lines sliding into new patterns. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Everyone back!" Elora shouted. The team stumbled away as the cube's center split open. A thin crack of blue light widened slowly, like an eye opening. From within came a faint, rhythmic clicking sound, too regular to be random. Malik's voice trembled. "It's opening," Rhea whispered. "Why would it tell us to run, if it wanted to talk?" Elora stared at the widening light. "Because maybe it isn't the archive speaking," she said softly. "Maybe it's the thing the archive was keeping locked inside." The crack widened further. The hum became a roar. Dust swirled around their feet like a storm. Then, for one brief second, Elora thought she saw movement inside the light. A shadow, tall and human-shaped, stretching toward her. She froze. The shadow moved closer. Before she could react, the emergency lights flickered back on for half a second, just enough to show what was stepping out of the cube. It wasn't human. The lights went dark again. The last thing anyone heard was Elora's voice whispering through the comms. "Whatever this is, it's awake." The emergency lights flickered back on. Dim red beams cut through the dust-filled air of Ars-9, painting the lab in a bloody glow. The black cube stood open like a giant wound in the floor. Whatever had come out of it was gone. Dr. Elora Quinn stood motionless, her pulse racing. The last few minutes felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Her voice cracked through the comms. "Malik, status." The engineer coughed, covered in debris. "Systems are rebooting. Power grids still unstable, but I'm reading new signals. Energy's spiking all over the base." Re, the linguist, crouched beside one of the terminals, trembling. The cube, it changed. "Look." The symbols that once decorated the cube's surface were gone. In their place was a single glowing mark, a thin line shaped like an eye, blinking slowly. "It's watching us," she whispered. Elora didn't answer. Her mind raced. They had found something alien, yes, but not dead. Not ancient. Alive. The silence stretched on. Then came a faint, rhythmic sound through the speakers, like footsteps, echoing from somewhere deep within the base. Malik frowned. No one else is on this level. He switched the cameras on. The main screens flickered to life, static, then dark hallways, then movement. A shape gliding past the lens, too fast to see clearly. Not walking. Floating. Rhea gasped. "It's moving through the tunnels." Elora leaned closer to the screen. The figure had no solid form, only a blur of blue light and mist. Yet it cast shadows, and where it passed, lights dimmed and walls vibrated. Could it be plasma? Energy discharge? Malik whispered. "No," Elora said softly. "It's searching." They followed the cameras as the glowing mist drifted through corridors, scanning doorways like it was remembering. Finally, it reached the old storage bay and stopped. The bay door slid open on its own. Malik's hand shook as he cut the feed. "It's accessing the station systems. Whatever it is, it's learning how we work." "Then we need to stop it," Elora said. "Seal every bulkhead. Full lockdown." Malik nodded, typing furiously. Red warning lights flared across the base. Doors slammed shut. The rumbling of machinery echoed like distant thunder. For a moment, it worked. The power stabilized. The hum faded. Then Athena, the AI, came back online. Her voice distorted, glitching like broken glass. "Dr. Quinn, connection established. Warning, unknown signal, expanding." "Expanding," Elora repeated. "What does that mean?" "Base containment compromised," Athena said. "Foreign pattern merging with primary systems." Malik stayed at the code streaming across the screen. "It's rewriting the software. It's infecting the base." The screens flickered again, and suddenly, the word appeared once more in bright, red text. "Run." But this time, it wasn't just on one monitor. It was on all of them. Hundreds of displays, lab panels, security feeds, even helmet HUDs, flashed the same message in unison. The word pulsed in time with the cube's heartbeat. Run, run, run. Panic filled the room. Ilara grabbed Malik's shoulder. How long until we lose control? He swallowed hard. Minutes, maybe less. It's spreading through every circuit. Then we disconnect it. Cut all power to the cube. Malik hesitated. If we do that, we'll lose oxygen, lights, comms, everything. Do it, Ilara said, before it does something worse. Malik slammed the override. The lights blinked out again. Total silence. Then, something new. A faint, distant sound, like a whisper moving through the air ducts. It was a voice. Not human. At first it was only static, then words. Broken, slow, but clear enough to understand. You woke the door. Rhea's face went pale. What door? The whisper came again. Closer now. Not archive, prison. Ilara froze. Prison. The cube wasn't a record. It was a cell. Her mind flashed back to the first message. Run. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning. Malik, she said quietly. Turn the lights back on. Now. The engineer fumbled for manual power. Lights buzzed, flickered, and then returned in dim orange. The cube stood silent again, split open. The floor around it was burned black, and the air shimmered with heat. Rhea pointed, trembling. Something's missing. Inside the cube was an empty hollow, deep and round, like something had been sleeping there, waiting for centuries. Ilara's voice dropped to a whisper. It's out. They didn't have time to think. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor, slow, deliberate. But there were no humans in that direction. Malik pulled up the nearest camera feed again. The image was faint, blurred by interference. A tall figure moved through the hall, made of blue mist and shifting light. It flickered in and out of visibility, like it wasn't fully real. When it passed the wall sensors, each one died instantly. It's heading for us, Malik said. Rhea backed away. We need to leave. We can't fight that. Ilara's eyes stayed locked on the screen. No one's fighting. We're leaving. She hit the emergency evac alarm. Sirens wailed across the base, echoing through every corridor. The voice came again through the speakers, louder now, metallic, desperate. Run, or it will find you. The base trembled as another shockwave passed through the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. The red lights spun wildly. Malik grabbed a plasma torch. What the hell did we unleash? Ilara looked back at the cube one last time. The symbols had reappeared, different now, rearranged into new patterns. The center pulsed like a heartbeat, faster, stronger. She whispered, something the aliens didn't want anyone to find. The whispering voice returned one final time. But this time, it wasn't through the speakers. It came from behind them. You should not have come. They turned. A tall shadow filled the doorway, its shape bending the light around it, eyes glowing faint blue through the haze. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the power failed completely, and Ars-9 fell into silence. When the lights finally came back, they flickered weakly, barely enough to chase the shadows from the lab. The cube stood silent again. The doors of Ars-9 groaned under pressure as Mars-thin winds howled outside, clawing at the walls. Dr. Ilara Quinn blinked through the red emergency light. Malik stood beside her, sweat streaking through the dust on his face. But Rhea, she was gone. Rhea. Ilara's voice echoed through the room. Rhea, answer. Static hissed back through the comms. Nothing else. She was just here, Malik said, scanning the room. She was right beside the cube when the power went out. Ilara's stomach tightened. Check the motion sensors. Malik opened a panel. The screen showed multiple static lines, broken readings. One dot blinked faintly in the far corridor, the west tunnel, near the excavation shaft. That, he said. She's in section C4. But even as he said it, the dot vanished. They moved fast, helmets on, flashlights cutting through the dark. The base was eerily quiet. No hum of machines, no AI voice, just their own breathing echoing in the helmet speakers. As they reached the tunnel, the air grew colder. Frost clung to the walls, glittering in their light. This shouldn't be possible, Malik muttered. The temperature's dropping, but the heaters are still on. Alara brushed frost off a metal door and froze. There, burned into the surface, were strange symbols, the same alien markings from the cube, glowing faint blue. Her voice dropped to a whisper. It's spreading. Malik's flashlight trembled. Those markings weren't here before. They forced the door open. The room beyond was a small storage bay, dark, silent, and covered in a fine mist that floated just above the floor. Ree! Alara called again. Her voice echoed, small and fragile. Something dripped in the corner. Malik swung the light that way and froze. A helmet, half melted, was fused into the metal wall. The glass was warped, the comms light still blinking faintly red. Alara stepped closer. Oh no! The rest of the suit was gone. No body, just the helmet and a strange black stain spreading out from it, like shadow burned into steel. Malik whispered, "What could do that?" The stain pulsed. Once, like it was breathing. They backed away fast. Alara turned on the comm. "This is Quinn to all remaining crew. Rear Cole is missing. Avoid sections C4. Repeat, avoid." Before she could finish, the comm hissed with static, and Athena's voice broke through, distorted and whispering. "She is not gone." Malik grabbed the comm unit. "Athena? What do you mean?" "The pattern took her. It learns. It copies." Alara felt a chill crawl up her spine. "Copies?" Athena's voice crackled again, weaker now. "Not one, now many." Then the connection cut. Malik slammed the comm shut. "We need to get off this base. Alara. Now." Alara stayed at the melted helmet, then back toward the corridor. She didn't answer. Her mind was racing. If the pattern could copy, what if it was inside the systems now? Inside the walls, the air, the machinery. They hurried back toward the main lab. But as they approached, they heard footsteps. Soft, measured, coming from ahead. Malik raised his torch, his voice shaking. "Someone's there." A figure stepped into the light. It was Ray. Her suit was clean. No damage. She walked slowly, her head tilted slightly, eyes reflecting the flashlight beam. "Ree," Alara said, relief flooding her voice. "Thank God. Where were you?" Ree didn't answer. She stopped a few meters away, staring at them. Something was wrong. Her breathing was silent. Her movements too smooth, mechanical. Then she spoke, voice calm and flat. "The door is open." Malik frowned. "What door?" "Ree, what are you talking about?" "The one we were told not to open," she said. "It remembers now." Alara took a cautious step back. "Ree, you need to come with us, okay? We'll run a medical." Ree smiled. It wasn't human. Her eyes glowed faint blue, like the cube. "It's learning your shape," she said softly. "Soon it won't need me anymore." Then, before they could move, her body flickered, like static, and collapsed into dust. Malik screamed, stumbling backward. She's gone." The dust didn't fall naturally. It drifted upward, forming thin strands of light that crawled along the ceiling and vanished into the vents. The base lights flickered. The walls vibrated with the hum again. Alara whispered, "It's inside everything now." They ran back to the main lab. The cube was pulsing, faster, brighter. The alien symbols crawled across its surface like veins of light. Malik slammed his hand on the console. "It's connected to the power grid again. I can't shut it down." Athena's voice returned, fractured but urgent. "Signal expanding beyond base perimeter. Transmission detected, outbound." Alara's heart dropped. "It's sending something." "Yes," Athena said. "A beacon." Alara froze. "To where?" The AI's voice broke into static. Then, faintly, "Everywhere." Outside the observation window, the red Martian dust swirled violently, as if the planet itself was shaking. Lightning flashed across the sky, a thing that never happened on Mars. Malik turned to Alara, eyes wide. "It's calling something, isn't it?" Alara nodded slowly, her face pale. "And now, they know where we are." The cube emitted a low tone, deep and resonant, vibrating through every wall. It wasn't random, it was a signal. A message. And far, far above Mars, satellites began to pick up the same sound. Something had answered. Back inside the base, Ilara and Malik stood in silence, the low hum growing into a roar. She whispered, "Whatever was inside that cube, it's not just hay." Malik stared at the cube's glowing eye. "Then what is it?" The hum stopped suddenly, and in the dead silence that followed, the cube spoke, not through speakers, not through machines, but directly through the air itself. "They are coming." For the first time in hours, Ars-9 was quiet. The cube no longer pulsed or glowed. Its strange eye-shaped marking had faded, leaving behind only smooth, dark metal. But Dr. Ilara Quinn didn't trust the silence. Not anymore. She and Dr. Malik Torrance sat in the dim control room, surrounded by flickering monitors and dead systems. The air smelled of burned metal. The hum of the base's engines had become an unsteady heartbeat. Outside, the Martian storm still raged, red dust swirling across the horizon like an ocean of blood. Malik rubbed his eyes. "We've lost half the systems, Ilara. Air recyclers, main comms, thermal control, everything's falling apart. We need help." Ilara looked at the small comms unit blinking weakly beside her. "I already sent a distress signal," she said. "Earth should have responded by now." Malik sighed. "Unless the signal didn't make it." Ilara shook her head. "It did. The beacon went out before the cube started transmitting." That thought made them both fall silent. The cube's own signal had gone out first. To where, or to whom, they still didn't know. Hours crawled by. The power dipped again, then stabilized. Every shadow in the room looked alive, bending and twitching under the flickering lights. Finally, the comm unit beeped. A transmission was coming through, from Earth. Ilara and Malik jumped to their feet. "Patch it through," she ordered. The static cleared, replaced by the calm voice of Director Ames, head of the Terran Science Council. "Dr. Quinn, we received your data package and visual logs. Do not engage further with the artifact. I repeat, do not interact." Ilara leaned close to the MIC director. "The situation is critical. One of my team is gone. The artifact is active. It's transmitting a signal. We need evacuation immediately." There was a pause on the line. A long one. When Ames spoke again, his tone had changed. Lower, uneasy. "Your transmission matched fragments of an earlier file. Something we never made public." Ilara frowned. "What kind of file?" "A probe," Ames said. "Discovered near Jupiter in 2439. It was of alien design, no known origin. Before it self-destructed, it transmitted a single message." Malik's voice trembled. "What did it say?" "It said, 'They are coming.'" The words hit the room like a cold wind. The same phrase they'd just heard from the cube. Ilara's knuckles turned white on the table edge. "So you knew something like this existed?" "We had theories," Ames said quietly. "We believed the message was a warning. The probe destroyed itself after sending it. We assumed the danger had passed. Now we know we were wrong." Malik muttered, "The cube's the same technology." "Yes," Ames replied. "Your scans confirm it. The energy pattern matches the Jupiter probe almost perfectly. But this one's stronger, older." Ilara asked, "What do you mean older?" "Our estimates suggest the cube is over 100,000 years old. Maybe more." The line filled with static. Then another voice cut in. "Athena, their base AI, now partially restored. Incoming data link detected, transmission, Earth to Mars, partial intercept." The comms began to glitch. Ames's voice distorted. "Ilara, leave the cube, do not." Then everything went silent. The base lights dimmed again. Ilara could hear her own heartbeat in the stillness. Malik whispered, "It cut the signal." Ilara's eyes went to the cube. It looked harmless again, dull and lifeless. But deep inside the metal, faint blue light flickered, like something listening. She spoke softly. "It doesn't want us to talk to Earth." Malik turned. "Then it understands us." Ilara nodded. "It's learning faster than we thought." They decided to try one last manual broadcast, old tech, direct laser comms through the storm. Malik worked quickly, connecting the dish control to an auxiliary power cell. While he worked, Ilara looked at the window. Something strange glowed faintly beyond the storm, thin, blue veins of light crawling along the horizon, pulsing in rhythm with the cube's heartbeat. She whispered, "It's spreading outside." Malik followed her gaze, eyes wide. The radiation from the cube, it's leaking into the ground, maybe into the atmosphere. Then the ground shook, just once, but hard enough to rattle every tool off the tables. Ilara steadied herself. That wasn't a quake. The cube's glow flared bright. Athena's voice returned, chaotic and broken. Warning: unidentified structures forming beneath base. Material composition, non-terrestrial. Expanding rapidly. Malik shouted, "It's building something under us." Ilara grabbed her helmet. "We're leaving. Now." They raced through the corridors toward the hangar. The emergency lights flickered as they ran. The sound of metal twisting came from below, the foundations groaning as if something enormous was moving beneath them. They reached the hangar doors, but they didn't open. The control panels were dead, covered in glowing blue lines that pulsed like veins. Malik hit the override again and again. They are locked. The system's not responding. Ilara turned to the comm. "Athena, open the doors." The AI's voice came faintly through the static. "Cannot comply. Base integrity compromised. External atmosphere unstable." "What does that mean?" Malik shouted. "Oxygen outside decreasing. Unknown gas concentration rising. Source beneath the base." Ilara looked down through the observation window at the Martian soil. Cracks were forming, thin and glowing blue. She whispered, "It's terraforming." Malik stared at her. "Terraforming Mars. Why? For what?" Before she could answer, a low, distant rumble filled the air, like thunder rolling underground. The cracks widened, spilling out light and mist. Ilara turned back toward the control room, her voice firm. "We can't stay here. We'll try the service tunnels, escape pods." Malik nodded, fear plain on his face. "An Earth?" Ilara hesitated. "They'll have to handle the signal. If it reached them, it's already too late." Back in the lab, the cube shone brighter and brighter until the light filled the whole room. Its carvings rearranged themselves again, forming a new message in human letters. "The signal is answered." Then the light went out. High above Mars, the orbital satellites began to move on their own, realigning, their dishes turning toward deep space. And far beyond them, in the black between stars, something vast began to change direction, heading straight for the solar system. The power flickered again, then stabilized, barely. The Martian base Ars-9 now felt like a dying creature, its steel lungs wheezing under the weight of the storm above. Dr. Ilara Quinn and Dr. Malik Torrance sat in the emergency bay, helmets off, catching their breath. The walls creaked. Every noise made them flinch. "Anything from Earth?" Malik asked. Ilara shook her head. "No signal." The cube blocked our comms again. Malik rubbed his face. "Then we're cut off." Ilara looked toward the lab door, the one that led to the cube. The faint hum was back, steady as a heartbeat. "It's not done with us," she said quietly. They didn't want to go back to that room. But when the hum grew louder, deep enough to shake the floor, they had no choice. They entered slowly, flashlights sweeping across the walls. The cube glowed from within, faint blue light spilling through its cracks like liquid fire. "It's opening again," Malik whispered. Ilara took a deep breath. No sudden moves. The cube's panels began to shift, folding like petals of a metal flower. From its center rose a mist, thick and glowing, twisting in the air like smoke underwater. It spread across the room, filling every corner, and then gathered, pulling itself into shape. A figure formed within the light. Tall, thin, humanoid, but wrong. No face, no mouth, only a faint outline of eyes that shimmered like stars. Malik froze. "Is that it?" The being tilted its head, studying them. When it spoke, its voice didn't come from a mouth, but from the air itself, a chorus of soft mechanical tones. "Do not stay." The words echoed through the room. Ilara swallowed hard. "Who are you?" The being's body rippled like fog in a wind. Its voice came again, broken and slow. I am Echo. Memory. Last of those who came before. Malik frowned. Before who? Before them. The lights flickered again. The cube's hum grew deeper. Images flashed through the air, ghostly projections of worlds, oceans of glass, cities of light, all burning and collapsing into dust. Ilara stepped closer. You're showing us something. The being nodded once, movements jerky but graceful. They consume worlds, stars, thought. We built this place to hide. Malik's voice cracked. You mean the cube? It's a prison. Yes, a prison and a warning. You open the door. Ilara's chest tightened. Then help us. Tell us how to stop it. The being flickered, its form growing weaker. Cannot. They follow sound. Every time you speak, they hear. Every signal, every word. Ilara froze. The transmissions, the research reports, the distress calls. Every message they'd sent into space was like a beacon. Malik whispered, we told them where we are. The being's eyes glowed brighter. They are already coming. Ilara stepped forward, desperate. Who are they? What do they want? The mist being seemed to struggle to hold shape. Its voice grew fractured, digital static breaking each word. They feed, not on bodies, on minds. Memory, knowledge. They take everything that thinks. The cube began to vibrate violently. Cracks spread across the floor. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Malik yelled, it's destabilizing. You must run, the being said. Louder now. Run, before the swarm arrives. Ilara's voice trembled. How long? The being looked up, as if listening to something only it could hear. Too late. Outside the window, the Martian sky flared blue, an impossible light cutting through the red storm. The ground shook again, harder this time. Instruments screamed with alarms. Malik ran to the nearest terminal. Incoming energy spike, upper atmosphere. Multiple objects entering orbit. Ilara stayed through the window. Shapes streaked across the sky, hundreds of them, burning through the thin air like meteors. It's them, she whispered. The being turned toward the glass. We thought the silence would protect us. It never does. Then it looked back at Ilara, glowing brighter, its form dissolving. Run! The mist imploded in a flash of blue light and vanished. The cube snapped shut with a metallic slam. The base's power surged to full strength for the first time in hours, then red lights flashed across every screen. Alert, orbital intrusion detected. Malik grabbed Ilara's arm. We have to go now. They ran for the evacuation wing. The walls shook with each new impact above. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the sound of metal collapsing echoed through the halls. As they reached the control deck, the AI's voice returned, cold and distant. Unknown vessels entering Martian orbit. Estimated count, 300. Composition, non-human. Energy signatures, predatory. Predatory. Malik repeated. What does that even mean? Ilara looked at the sky feed on the monitor. Dozens of dark, jagged shapes moved above Mars. Living ships, their hulls rippling like muscle and bone. She whispered, it means they are not ships. They are alive. Malik pulled up the emergency launch system. Escape pods are ready. We can still make orbit. Ilara hesitated. If we leave, we bring them closer to Earth. Malik stared at her. If we stay, we die. The base shook again. A massive crack split the ceiling above them, scattering debris. Ilara looked at the cube one last time through the glass door. It pulsed faintly again, like a heart still beating. She whispered, we woke something ancient, and now everything alive is in danger. Malik grabbed her hand. Then let's live long enough to warn them. They ran for the pods as the roof caved in behind them, and the last thing Ilara saw before the blast door sealed was a column of blue light rising from the crater, shooting straight into the sky like a beacon to the stars. The sky above Mars was no longer red. From orbit, the planet looked like a wound, streaks of blue light cutting through its dust storms, spreading wider every minute. The swarm had arrived. Inside the damaged Ars-9 base, alarms screamed through the corridors. Metal doors jammed, lights flickered, and the air was thick with smoke. Dr. Ilara Quinn and Dr. Malik Torrance ran through the main hangar, gasping for air, their boots slamming against the trembling floor. Pod 3 is still online, Malik shouted, pointing at the far end of the bay. Ilara glanced over her shoulder. Behind them, the archive chamber glowed like a furnace. The cube, the alien archive, pulsed with violent light, blue energy spiraling around it as if something inside was fighting to break free again. "We don't have much time," she shouted. The ceiling above them cracked open. A blinding flash split the room. One of the alien vessels had descended through the storm, its surface alive with shifting scales of light, half machine, half creature. It hovered just above the surface, completely silent. Ilara felt her skin prickle. Her instinct screamed at her to run, but her mind was frozen by awe and terror. The ship's surface rippled once, and a beam of blue energy swept across the ground. Where it touched, matter disappeared, walls, machines, human bodies, erased in a blink. No fire, no explosion, just gone. Malik shoved Ilara forward. "Move!" They sprinted across the bay, dove into the pod, and slammed the hatch shut. The RE's voice echoed faintly inside. "Launch sequence activated. Escape trajectory unstable." "Good enough," Malik said, punching the release. The pod's boosters fired, throwing them upward into the churning Martian sky. The force pinned them to their seats as they broke through the dust clouds and into the black void of space. Ilara looked down through the viewport. Mars burned. Blue veins of light wrapped around its surface like chains. Dozens of alien vessels circled in formation, pulsing rhythmically, as if feeding on the planet itself. "Earth must see this," Ilara whispered. Malik nodded, turning to the comms console. "We're too far for direct contact, but the pod's emergency transponder." He stopped. The display flashed red. Signal jammed. Source unknown. Ilara leaned closer. "They are blocking transmissions." Malik frowned. "Not all of them. Look, there's a small gap. Maybe we can push a burst through." He typed quickly, rerouting the power. The system groaned but responded. A thin line of static appeared on the monitor, faint but steady. "Link, Earth Command, 0.7% stability." "That's enough," she said. "Record everything." The pod's cameras turned toward Mars, capturing the unfolding nightmare. The planet's surface was now covered in a living web of blue light, spreading across the craters and valleys like frost on glass. Ilara spoke into the recorder, her voice trembling. "This is Dr. Ilara Quinn, Ars-9 base. The archive, it wasn't a relic. It was a signal. Something ancient, something waiting. They've come for it. They feed on thought, on knowledge itself. Mars is lost. If you can hear this, do not answer. Do not search. Just run." The message cut off as the pod shuddered. Outside, one of the alien ships turned toward them. The pod's AI broke the silence. "Warning. Object approaching at high velocity." Malik's fingers danced over the controls. "I'll try to lose it in orbit." Ilara stared through the glass as the ship drew closer, a massive, glimmering structure with 1,000 moving parts. It didn't look like it was built. It looked like it was grown. "Faster, Malik," she shouted. He pushed the engines to maximum. The pod roared forward, but the ship didn't chase directly. Instead, a strange blue wave rippled outward from it, like sound without sound. Every system in the pod flickered. The lights dimmed. The eye's voice broke apart into static. "Critical, data breach, unknown signal inside." Ilara's console went black. Then words appeared, one by one, burned into the screen. "We hear you." The pod's lights flicked out completely. Millions of kilometers away, Earth Command received the signal. The data packet from Mars arrived incomplete, filled with static and broken video. But the message, the last few words, were clear. "Do not answer. Do not search. Just run." Inside the orbital control center, Commander Eve Voss stared at the screen in disbelief. Around her, technicians whispered, frozen. The image of Mars filled the monitors, glowing with blue lines like veins of lightning. "Is that energy?" one of them asked. Rhea shook her head slowly. "No, it's feeding. The entire planet's being drained." Then another technician turned pale. Something's happening on our side." He zoomed in on a satellite feed. The outer solar array, stationed between Mars and Earth, was flickering. Data streams showed massive interference, the same frequency the archive had emitted. Then one line of text appeared in every system connected to the array. "They follow sound." Back in space, the escape pod drifted powerless. The stars were silent. Elora sat beside Malik, their faces dimly lit by the last emergency light. She whispered, "They heard us. Even the transmission. We called them." Malik nodded weakly. "Then Earth's next." Outside, the shadow of the alien ship loomed closer. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, opening and closing in slow, rhythmic motion. A strange hum filled the air, low, beautiful, terrible. Elora closed her eyes and whispered one word. "Run." And then, the light swallowed them. The escape pod drifted through darkness. The stars were silent now. No radio waves, no transmissions, no sound. Only the faint hum of the alien swarm behind them, a cold reminder that even space wasn't safe anymore. Dr. Elora Quinn woke to flickering red lights. Her head throbbed. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then she saw Malik slumped in the seat beside her, his suit torn, oxygen levels low but stable. The pod's systems had rebooted on emergency power. Through the cracked viewport, Mars glowed far below, half the planet now covered in blue light. The swarm had begun to burrow into its core. Elora pressed a hand against the glass. "They're eating the planet." Malik stirred beside her. "How are we still alive?" She checked the readouts. The cube. It's still sending energy pulses. Maybe it shielded us, accidentally. He gave a weak laugh. "Great. The thing that doomed us saved us." How poetic. The pod's navigation showed only one possible route, back to Mars. "Back," Malik said, disbelief in his voice. "You can't be serious." Elora stayed at the data. "If we run, we lead them home. If we go back, maybe we can stop the signal." "Stop it." "Elora, the cube's stronger than anything we've seen. It survived an orbital strike. What could we possibly do?" Her eyes hardened. "We can destroy the base's fusion core. The cube feeds on energy. Let's see what happens when we give it too much." Malik stared at her for a long time. Then he nodded. "If this fails, we'll die." Elora looked out at the endless dark. "If we don't, everyone will." They turned the pod around. Its engines flared weakly as it descended through the thin Martian atmosphere. Below them, Ars-9 was gone, a crater of twisted metal and glowing blue veins. Alien vessels hung above it like vultures, motionless but watching. Elora guided the pod down behind a ridge. It struck the ground hard, skidding across the sand before stopping in a cloud of red dust. The hull groaned, but held. They stepped outside into the thin, cold air. The horizon was alive with light. The swarms were spreading across the planet like a virus. They could feel it now, not just see it. The ground vibrated faintly under their boots, like a heartbeat pulsing deep beneath the surface. Malik adjusted his oxygen mask. "I can't believe we came back." Elora stared at the distant crater. "Let's make sure no one else ever has to." The path to the base was torn apart, twisted tunnels, melted walls, glowing dust where humans once stood. The mist from before was gone, replaced by faint trails of blue energy floating through the air like drifting ash. They reached the central control chamber. The cube still sat there, half buried in rubble, glowing brighter than ever. Its hum filled the air, deep and steady, like breathing. Malik connected a cable to the control terminal. "If we can reroute the fusion power directly into it, the overload should melt everything, including this monster." Elora knelt beside him, setting the charges. "How long before detonation?" 3 minutes. Maybe less. She nodded. "That's all we need." But the cube's light flared suddenly. Its surface shifted, and a voice filled the chamber. Not the calm echo they'd heard before, but something darker, heavier. You cannot stop the hunger. Ilara froze. The cube was speaking. You wake us. You feed us. You run. Always run. Malik's hands shook as he entered the commands. Ignore it. Knowledge is sound. You are sound. You are ours. The temperature in the room rose sharply. The cube's energy waves rippled outward, making the metal walls bend and groan. Ilara yelled, "Now, Malik!" He slammed the final key. The fusion core screamed to life. Energy flooded the conduits, turning every wire white hot. The cube pulsed violently, its panels unfolding like a living creature writhing in pain. The voice roared again, louder, shaking the ground. "We see you." Ilara grabbed Malik's arm. "Run!" They sprinted through the collapsing corridor. Fire burst from the walls. The base trembled as the overload began. 2 minutes. Malik shouted. They reached the exit hatch, but the outer doors were jammed. Malik forced them open manually, using every ounce of strength left in him. A blast of wind hit them as the air vented out. Behind them, the cube's light burned so bright it was painful to look at. They dove behind a ridge just as the explosion hit. A soundless wave of energy rolled across the surface, flattening everything in its path. Blue fire rose into the sky, twisting upward into space. The ground beneath them cracked, then split apart. When the shockwave faded, silence returned. Mars was dark again. Ilara slowly stood, shaking dust from her visor. The crater where Ars-9 once stood was gone, replaced by a smooth glass plain. Nothing moved. No hum. No light. Malik limped beside her, breathing hard. "Did we do it?" She stared at the horizon. For the first time in days, the sky was just red. "I think we did." He laughed weakly. "Then let's go home." She didn't answer. Her gaze stayed fixed on the faint glow still rising into the upper atmosphere, a thin, blue thread stretching toward the stars. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "We destroyed the cube, but the signal went out." Malik turned slowly. "You mean?" Ilara nodded. "They know Earth exists now." She walked back to the wrecked pod, activated its last working transmitter, and began recording. "This is Dr. Ilara Quinn, last survivor of Ars-9. The archive is gone. Mars is lost. They are coming. Do not send help. Do not answer. Bury this planet. Forget we were ever here." She ended the transmission and watched it vanish into the void, a final message, a whisper to warn her kind. Then she sat beside Malik, staring at the rising dawn over a broken world. The last sunrise on Mars.